is happening? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Building a U-Shaped Business with Georgie and Patty.
Georgie.
And I'm Patty. And it's my job to say hello today because Georgie is bringing our topic today. And we've been on a little bit of a planning and review and saying goodbye to 2020 and hello to 2021. And last week we talked a bit about creating U-shaped plans. Today we're going to talk about creating a U-shaped business, or rather, vision.
For a second, vision. We are? Okay. Well, no problem.
We are totally talking about vision. We are talking about vision and clarity and about your life and your business and an awesome new year. So I'm going to turn it over to Georgie before I mislabel what she's going to say anymore.
It's okay. It's kind of like improv. It's totally fine. I like it. Okay, let me share my screen. Is that the one I want? Let's see. I think it is. We can see it. Let's see if my thing works. You know how every single time it seems to take forever when I hit the cursor? So here we are, episode 90. And we are building a U-shaped business with us. And yeah. There we go. We are here most Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, unless there is a holiday, and then we are not. And we share different thoughts and ideas about how to build a successful business based on your purpose, your values, and your personality. So today, as Patty mentioned, we will be talking about U-shaped visioning and how do we actually build a U-shaped vision. So I was looking up vision in the dictionary, and I liked this definition, which is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. And I kind of think it takes both, because I think often, especially as the new year starts to approach, we start thinking about, well, what do I want for 2021? What do I want for the new year? And it's really important, I think, to bring that wisdom that we learned from 2020 forward, instead of just looking at, okay, well, no, what do I want? What do I want? What can be new and exciting? So I think it requires really both of those pieces, not just one. Well, you know, I can't hit the right things. There we go. Okay. So feeding off my partner's little diagram from last week, I thought we would look at what these sort of steps to visioning could be. And I think the first question, just like in the planning, is we really have to ask ourselves, what do we want? You know, what do I want for my life? What do I want for my business? What do I even want from this vision? What do I want? And then pulling in that wisdom piece, there's a bit of reflection that happens in looking at what worked, what didn't, what did I learn? So spending some time there. And then I think we can move on into, if we need to or want to, kind of setting new goals for moving forward. And then that creates this beautiful tree that I'm going to be sharing with you that can be your new future. So my quote of the day, you know, and as I was looking for quotes this morning, I found a lot that I just really didn't agree with. So here's the one we're going to start with. So to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment. And as we get into my tree, and for those who have been listening to me for a while, you know that I really think purpose can really be that foundational piece that helps us to move forward and create the things that we want in our life. But a lot of the quotes I found when I was looking for them was like, you know, you have to have a crystal clear vision. You have to have really detailed, definite plans. And quite honestly, I don't believe that's true. At least I know it's not true for me. And I know it's not true for a lot of U-shaped businesses. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about that more as we go forward. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, I don't think so. I think it's great if you have them and it works for you. But if it doesn't, I think that's okay too. It's part of what's being U-shaped. So this is my U-shaped visioning life tree that I built this morning. So graphics don't have to be perfect, but you will get the idea. So the components of this tree that can help you really make your vision strong, and it's the pieces that we're going to go through today, are number one, if we think about the soil. So the soil is really your self-transcending purpose. This is that purpose that's bigger than yourself. It's your why. And this is like when we want to grow plants and trees, this is what's going to make our soil really rich, really nutrient dense, really give us those materials at the bottom for the roots to stick into and our tree to grow. Then we're going to look at the roots, and the roots are our values. Those are the things that drive our life, that motivate us. And think about it when, you know, your roots take hold, and especially with a tree, they just can spread out like crazy. That's what holds that tree really in the ground, and it can, depending on the kind of tree, but it can sway and it can move, but those roots keep it really, really solid. And then we have our trunk. And if you imagine like the nutrients and things from the soil and the values, they're traveling up to the trunk and they're helping the branches to grow. The trunk we can think of as these are our actions, our behaviors, our thoughts, those things that we're kind of doing every day that are then going to start to have those branches grow. And I'm looking at the branches as kind of the areas of our life that really matter most to us. So we might have 4 branches or 3 branches or 5 branches, depending on what our tree is. And then we have our fruit. And our fruit can kind of be our outcome, our results, or they could be the different pieces of the areas of our life. So let's say in my business, I might have an apple that's my clients. I might have an apple that's a project that I'm working on. I might have an apple for, you know, maybe I'm learning some new things in my business. So I might have different apples hanging off of that branch. And then as I move forward and I set new goals, I might have a new little sprout that I'm ready for some new growth, for some new apples to appear. So we're going to kind of go through all of these little pieces in how we can use these to create our vision today. So as I said, let's start with purpose. So as you're reflecting back and creating your vision, start to think about, and I'm going to use this for business because we're talking about a U-shaped business here. You can very much interchange business and life with pretty much everything I'm saying today, but today let's look at it really with just your business. So how did you actually bring your purpose or your why to life in your business this year? Were you aware that you did? Maybe it totally skipped your mind. Maybe you're not even clear about, you know, what your purpose or your why is, or even how to articulate it. But how did you bring that to life this year? And are you happy in the way that that showed up for you? Or are there things that you would like to do differently? Because as we start to reflect on these questions, we start to create the vision for what we want moving forward. If I'm looking through it and I'm thinking, wow, I really like, so for me, my self-transcending why would be to inspire people to take action to create the life that they really, really, really want. So if I look at my business and I can say, how did I do that this year in my business? I'm like, okay, I can see some ways that showed up. What things worked really well, what things didn't, and what would I like to do more of? Like as I'm creating this vision moving forward, and I don't actually think it even has to be all for 2021. I think it could be what would I like to do moving forward from right now, where I can start to bring that more to life. So that's gonna get my soil, right? Really nutrient dense, really ready to grow that tree so it can be strong and healthy. And then I'm going to look at my values. And as you know, I really believe that you should be clear about what your values are, and they need to be actionable. They need to have a verb attached to them so you can go, did I do that? Yes or no, right? An example for one of mine, right, for my love value is, did I create spaces where people feel like they matter? And I can look at this and I can go, so when I look at my business, how well did I use my values? How well did they show up in my business? Is it obvious that they were there? Did I really live them? Or are they just a nice little thing that I did once, put them on a piece of paper, they're somewhere in my drawer, but I'm not actually using them to grow those really strong roots? Were there any that I really struggled with? Some that maybe I really want to focus on and work on and improve in that area? Or maybe I have one that when I did that exercise that one time and I was creating my values, maybe I pick some that I thought would be really great, but they don't actually resonate with me. Maybe they're not the ones that are really for me as I reflect back on what maybe the last year looked like. So do I need to change some, or do I want to improve some? Because again, this is helping me to create that vision moving forward for my business, because I really believe these, like your purpose and your values, they start to create that foundational level that can be really, really strong moving forward. Often, when we think about our vision and our goals and that kind of stuff, we're just looking at kind of results and outcomes that we want, instead of kind of looking at these foundational, fundamental things that are really going to help us move forward. Next, so our trunk, our action, our behaviors, our thoughts. So you can start to ask yourself, when you're thinking about your business, what activities, behavior, habits were most common in your business this year? So start to look at your patterns. We often start out with, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oh yeah, I think I do direct outreach really well. Actually, I do a lot of it. I'm not even sure what's happening. But as you reflect back, what does your information say? Did you really reach out as much as you thought you did? Or did you have maybe one good hour and man, that was good for the whole year? Like, where are the things that are commonly showing up, those common patterns and behaviors? Oops. And then of the activities you were actually spending your time on, did they really move you toward what matters most? Or were they distractions? Did they actually maybe even move you backwards? Because if we start to look at how we're spending our time, it's so easy to think that we're busy building our business when quite often we're spending our time on things that are really, really just distractions. And what would I like to do differently? Because these things that we want to do differently, again, are helping you create this vision for where you want to go. The branches. So these are the areas of my life that actually matter to me. So when you're looking at your branches, are you even clear about the areas of your life that matter most? And I think it's important here to not have like 10 different areas that you're trying to fill all your time into. 4 or 5, I think, is more than enough, because you only have so much time. And if you're trying to spread too thin, it's too much. And when you look at all your branches, so for me, in my branches, right, I have the one for my business, I have one for my relationships, I have one for like my learning and my growth, one for my health. I want to look at how did these other areas of my life actually impact my business? Because I really believe our life and our business are really, really intertwined. So it's really good to look at how are all the areas working together? And by not spending enough time on my health, how is that impacting my business? Or am I spending so much time in my business that the relationships I say are important to me are starting to suffer? So take some time to look at how all your branches are working together. And then what would you like to do differently? Start to create your vision. And then the fruit, the little apples or pears or flowers, whatever you want to call them, whatever works for you. So start to look at what actual results and outcomes did you achieve last year? How much fruit do you have on your tree and on your branches? And then look at the quality of that fruit. Is there some rotting fruit sitting there? And maybe it needs, maybe it's kind of starting to die. Maybe you can save it. Maybe it needs some more attention, or maybe it needs to be cut off. Maybe it needs to have some pruning there, and that fruit needs to go. Because often I think as we're moving forward, it's really important to look at, do I have some things that I really need to take care of before I add more things on moving forward? If you look at, let's just say your business. So maybe if your business, maybe you're looking at your little client apple and you're like, yeah, that client apple is starting to rot. Like I don't really have too many clients. Maybe I need to pay some attention there, because that's actually starting to affect my money apple. My money apple's really starting to shrink, and I don't want to cut it off, but I need to nurture it and make it, full and healthy and juicy. So start to pay attention to what's happening with your fruit. you know? And then what fruit is really blooming? What are the ones where you're like, oh man, look at that one. That one is big and bright and shiny. That one could actually probably win a prize if I was at like some farmer's market or something. Like that apple is like the apple. And maybe you want to do more of that. Maybe you want to cultivate a few more of those kind of apples. But maybe you've been focusing so much on everything that's not working that you've kind of lost sight of one or two of those bright, shiny ones that you could really put some attention on. So look at your fruit and then decide, what would I like to do differently? And then after you do that, then you can decide if we need to work at, some new sprouts and some new goals and what those might be. So what new growth do you really want for this year? So for your business, what would be some areas that you would want to put into place based on all the information you've brought forward, based on the wisdom that you have? And then again, when you are setting your goals and looking at your new little sprouts, how is it going to impact all of the other areas of your life? Are you going to have so many sprouts on one particular branch that maybe it's just going to be a little too heavy and the other branches are seeing no new growth at all? So maybe they're starting to die. Like it's really important to start to pay attention to how it's all going to work together, because your life, like this tree, it's one whole system. It requires all of the pieces. Can't ignore them. And then you can start to figure out, what would I like to do differently? And that's going to start to create the vision. And the other thing that you really want to start paying attention to is your environment. What's the environment that you're actually trying to grow all of this in? You need some sun, you need some rain, you need maybe some shade with this tree that you're trying to grow. So look at your current environment, where you're spending your time, who's in it, the things you're reading, the stuff you're putting in, and is this environment actually the best environment to grow your tree? And sometimes I think a lot about this with social media. Is Facebook a really good environment for me to be in to grow my tree? And if it is, have I curated that environment well enough to grow my tree? Or is it just kind of this crazy, messy place that's so full of weeds, my tree has to work so hard to grow. It's hard to, even feel the sun and drink in the rain. So really start to pay attention to your environments. And what do you really want to nurture? In the environments that you have, what do you want to keep? What do you want to get rid of? What do I want to clean up? And you may find that you do a whole lot of kind of pruning, like you're chopping weeds left, right, and center, so that you can create the space to grow what you really, really, really want to grow. So then it comes back to that same question, so what else would I like to do differently? Just as a little commercial reminder, we do have our UShaped design and planning course coming up next week, where we're going to go even more into detail to helping you kind of go through these different parts of this tree to create your vision. So you get to really combine, the plan that Patty talked about last week, and then shaping this vision that's really in alignment with who you are, the kind of tree that you want to grow. Maybe it's a big, huge apple tree or cherry tree or palm tree or I don't know, oak tree. I don't know what kind of tree you want to grow, but it's a U tree. So if you're interested in that, you can go to our UShapedBusiness.com website and find out more. And so I have 2 permission slips for you today. So the first one is very much like last year, is that you do have permission to go for what you really, really want, and you can create a vision that works for you. And that vision, it may be huge and grand and you're looking far out into the future, or it may be kind of small. It may be pretty focused in. It may be a vision for the next 2 months or the next, month, 3 months, 6 weeks. It doesn't have to be often what we think about when we're planning our next year. So you can create that in whatever way that works for you. And my next permission slip is that it's actually okay to have a blurry vision. It's totally fine to have a vision that's not absolutely crystal clear. And I think this is really where the strength of your purpose and your values kind of comes in, because that's always going to be solid. So then you kind of get these ideas, and you kind of see it, and you kind of know, and you have enough information to take a few steps forward, but maybe that longer term vision is a little bit blurry, and that's okay. You know, Patty and I were talking about this this morning, and I was saying, you know, when I look back at the businesses that I've created or the projects that I've done, I don't think I have ever actually had a super clear vision and a really detailed plan. I have a pretty good kind of idea, and sometimes it's super blurry. I can only see maybe just a few feet in front of my face, but it's okay. I'm still able to move forward and get going. And if I stop to think about, no, I need to create the really clear picture, I need to write down all the steps, I actually get overwhelmed and it stops me. I'm like, I can't, that's no much. And one of two things will happen. I either quit, or I'm like, screw it, I'm just moving forward. I got enough. It's okay. So if your vision is a little bit blurry, it's okay. If it's crystal clear, it's okay. You know, this is a U-shaped vision that we are creating. So that's all I got today on visioning. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, feedback. If you've got shiny fruit, rotting fruit, yummy fruit, your trees are growing or dying.
What a great metaphor. I love it.
Like the tree.
it just what killed me. You said you tree. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah, the blurry vision thing. Like I'm so glad that you said that, because the vision of, you know, exactly what I want. You know how they usually do visioning exercises where you have to be crystal clear and you have to have all of the details, and it's like, what does it feel like and what does it smell like and all of that, and I'm like no. And you know, but I think part of that is just, I'm old now, and I know that stuff doesn't work that way. At least it doesn't work that way for me.
Yes.
Having a vision of what I want and making a detailed plan and going for it, it's like I find out really quickly that the detailed plan does not match up with my expectation. So the plan goes out the window. And, you know, the end vision kind of thing isn't what I expected it to be. So, yeah.
Right? I know, and I think that's, as I was doing this morning, and I was thinking, like, say, really thinking about a lot of those quotes, and I'm like, I just don't think it's so. Like, I can't put this quote up there because I know for sure for me and a lot of the people I've worked with, it's not true. So
part of it is that for us and for U-shaped people in general is that we're evolving. We're growing and we're changing and we're learning and we're evolving. So,
yes.
You know, a crystal clear vision of me 10 years in the future, it's like I'm making a plan for a different human being. It's like I'm not going to be the same person in 6 months.
Exactly.
So how can I, you know, create the exact details? But what I can get clearer on is all of the stuff that you talked about in the tree. It's like, and it's kind of like really that reflection and paying attention. It's like, what do I want more of? What do I want less of?
Exactly.
Like, where's my energy flowing? What felt fun and easy, and what felt hard and grueling and not worth it?
Exactly. And I think, what's the thing that you talk about with, it's like the 90-day year, or the is that what it is? Yeah. Like, and I think that's a smarter thing than sort of trying to plan out this whole year. I mean, 2020 was a really great example. I bet you for everyone who really planned 2020 got a little bit of a shock.
Yep.
Different than what we thought it was going to be.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's been so popular for so long to kind of do these, you know, 10 year, 5 year, 3 year, now work it back down to your 1 year. And it's like, I was never any good at those. Like, I honestly just suck. Like the thought of trying to plan 10 years out, I'm like, I don't see anything. Like, it's just,
Yep.
I have no clue. It's all about like, you know, in 10 years, my life will be so different. Especially if I think of, you know, depending on the ages of my kids, like there's just, look at how much a child changes in 10 years. Like, you want me to plan what my life's going to be in 10 years? I had no clue. So I'm working backwards from, well, you just work backwards. Okay, I got nothing. I got nothing then at 5 too. This is easy. No clue.
Yeah. You know, it's not going to remember the specifics, of course, but there's this book called Playing the Matrix by the fellow who does the Notes from the Universe, Mike Dooley. I always want to call him Tom Dooley. Mike Dooley. Anyhow, he addresses this exact vision thing, and he basically says you have to let go of the details. You have to let go of the details and the how, but you get some clarity on kind of the essence of what you're wanting, right? And it's like, okay, what, you know, so for myself, like when I'm, you know, really going into that place, it's like, yeah, what do I want, right? And it's like, I want to have a business that I enjoy being in, right? Like it's like really kind of loose. It's like, I want to use my skills and feel energized about what I am doing. And I want to be paid well for it. And I want to work with people I really like. It's like, that's the vision for my business. You know, I want to develop a body of work that I'm proud of. Is that going to be a course? Is it going to be a book? It doesn't matter. It's a body of work that I'm proud of. I'm putting stuff out there, right? And I've cultivated a community of people that I enjoy being around and that is intellectually stimulating, right? So it's like, those are kind of, that's where my vision is going. For all of this stuff. It's pretty general. It allows a lot of room for growth, but it gets the essence. You know, it matches my purpose.
Yes. And I think a lot of this, and we talk about a lot of this too, is that it comes from experimenting with different things and like looking back and going, I didn't like that. I never want to do that again. You know, and I think even in that initial quote, it's kind of these, I'll use failures as kind of a loose term there, but because it's doing stuff that we just didn't really like, but at least we thought it might work or might be a good idea. So I think that idea that everything's going to go as planned and it's all going to be smooth sailing is not true either. And I think it's really learning to, which we talk about so much too, enjoying the process. And that process includes screwing up, doing things you realize, oh, I didn't like to do that, and then changing course. But that information is so important as we move forward. Like, because we don't know unless we do stuff.
I think we get, I mean, this was one of the points that Mike made in the book, is that we get so focused on the freaking details of exactly what the make and model of the car is going to be and the exact shade that it's in, that we miss an opportunity for something that's just as good, if not better, but doesn't match the exact spec, right? Like, and this is, it's like we kind of close ourselves off to opportunities and we don't see what's in front of us. And, you know, it's that getting fixated. It's like he says, like, if you're going to ask the universe for help, you know, law of attraction kind of stuff, you have to give some clues, but you also have to be, you know, taking action towards that, putting your, what did you call it? Putting yourself in the universe's way. Like, you just got to go out there and to stay kind of open to what the universe might be handing you. Like a specific individual is a hard thing for the universe to hand to you, but an individual that has these kind of qualities and values, that's a little bit easier, right?
Exactly. Especially if you're moving forward and actually going to places where these individuals might be. You know, exactly. If you're staying in your house and expecting the individual to show up at your doorstep, I'm not so sure.
This is my visualization for my business next year. So the clients are going to come and knock on the door.
Yeah, they're like, hey, I got cash for you. Will you take it? Perfect. Yes. Cool. Yeah, maybe if that was your vision for last year, your activities was, well, I just kept visualizing and waiting for it. You might want to try something new this year.
Yeah.
I like this comment in the chat. I love the tree. That really, really brings together so many important elements of one's vision and one's U-shaped life and business. I'm so surprised to see this presentation because I have started drawing trees the past few days to get more clarity on all the things you discussed. I tried to do a tree for the business and then realized, no, start with the life vision. That's what Patty relayed recently in our last presentation. Yeah, it's all connected. And I think the more we try to separate things, the harder it is. I think it's about just embracing kind of the whole system and seeing how the different pieces fit together. How do you want them to fit together? And not being so attached to it has to be like this, it has to be like that. It's like, you know, I know these things are important. I kind of like it like this. And then very much like you were saying with the universe thing, just kind of being open to maybe some different ideas than what you thought. So it's so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can have a blurry vision and find some glasses every now and then. Is it clear yet? Is it clear yet? Is it working?
And you know, I think for other people, I think that, you know, I'm thinking of some people that I know in my life that, you know, they have the life plan. Like,
yes.
They have the life plan. And the life plan doesn't always go according to the life plan. It's like, get married, have the 2 kids, buy the house, get divorced. Oh, get divorced was not in the life plan.
Oops. Exactly.
And it's like, and just this, you know, kind of sense of betrayal and disappointment and devastation that comes with something that's not on the life plan. Now what? Yes. Life falls apart.
Exactly.
It's just like spinning out of control because you know, like there's this rigidity on,
yes,
you know, and it's like, so
it's kind of like a birth plan. I can remember when I was pregnant with my son, you know, and they wanted to create a birth plan. I'm like, why? I didn't create one because I don't like creating plans really. So, and then after I had my first child, I'm like, why the hell would you ever create a birth plan? You got zero control over anything. Like, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. Like, and you're making a plan for something that you know absolutely nothing about. You know, like you really have no clue. And I've seen people who sat down and created this nice little birth plan about, you know, wanting this aromatherapy things, and we're going to play this music, and you know, the baby's going to come in all calm and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, now that I've had a kid, but you really have, like, it's just such fake, like it's full on imagination because the body's going to do what the body does, you know? So I think those are just, I think it's so funny. Because
but you know what? It gives you, I think it gives you a sense of control in a way, like, or
yeah.
like, you know, it's a way of dealing with the uncertainty.
Yeah.
To kind of make it up.
Until it happens and you realize nothing is going according to plan.
Isn't that exactly what happens with business?
It's exactly what happens. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I've got this amazing Facebook ad that I'm gonna run. It's like,
yeah.
Crickets.
Wait.
I did not visualize crickets.
I thought I was gonna have so much money coming into my bank account from that ad. Like, what?
Where's my money rain?
What happened? Yeah. Where's my money tree?
Where's my $100,000 launch?
Yes, totally.
Focus.
So true. So true.
This is the most amazing product ever. Everybody's gonna buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody. Like, what? Nobody? No one bought it? Huh. Just like, how many millions and billions of people on Facebook and no one bought it? Yeah.
So disappointing.
So disappointing. It is. And I think when we get ourselves so, like, we really, really believe it's going to work, we really, really believe it's the thing, and then it doesn't. what? It can be so, so disappointing.
And the thing is, it's like, what was that quote that you had at I think it was at the beginning of the presentation today, about the failure being like one of the many routes to get there, right?
Yes.
I think that's the important thing to remember here, right?
Exactly.
Multiple kind of paths.
Multiple
You try
paths.
something, you see how it goes, you learn from it, you try something else until you figure it out. I often think it's kind of like figuring out like a combination lock. It's like you have to get the pieces in place, and it might take a few tries, or Rubik's Cube or something like that.
Exactly.
It may take a few tries to get it lined up.
Exactly. I like this question. Could I have a magic tree with different types of fruit? Well, I guess you could have a magic tree with different types of fruit, as long as your tree isn't so imaginative that there's nothing really solid about it, right? This is what it's like, the spiritual bypassing or the total delusion stuff. Like, I think you want some solidness to that tree. But sure, it can be magical. Make lots of fruit. You can have whatever fruit you want. I like this too. What about the seasons of the tree? Which I think is also an important part. Like, if we learn from nature, because where are those times where almost they kind of go dormant or the leaves fall off and things like that? It's where am I taking that time, which I think could be that reflection period. Where am I looking into things? Where am I letting go of what's not working so that the new things can come in and grow? But if I'm not paying attention, if I'm always just go, and not allowing kind of that cycle to happen, the growth is probably not going to happen as well either, because you're just, you're not paying attention. You're not getting the wisdom, right, from what's happening. And that's why I really like kind of that 90-day cycle, or even 6 weeks, whatever it is, but always taking time to go, okay, let me check in and see, what are my energy levels? Where were the things that really I felt I could be here all day? Where were the things that filled up my little energy bar? Where were the things that drained it? And not waiting until the end of the year to make those changes. So yeah.
And noticing where the caterpillars are munching on the branches and getting in the way of the fruit or something like that.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
It's like, oh, damn, there's a beaver at the trunk.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, not waiting till the tree's fallen over and went, how did I miss that? What? You've been gnawing at my ankles for like how long? Shoot. I didn't feel you there. And I think that's one of the problems of being so fixated too on one certain plan with all the different steps, that you're not flexible enough to actually see what's working, what's not working. Maybe I need to scrap the whole thing, because sometimes that happens.
Yeah, plant a new tree.
Exactly. And it's better to do it sooner rather than later, really. And the cool thing about that, even talking about planting new trees, right? You can plant that new tree as long as you got that rich, fertile soil, and it's got a good root system. You can plant and grow a new tree. No problem. It's so awesome. And then occasionally we need the pesticide. Maybe. Yeah, look at that. Yes, pesticide the quick fix.
Ooh, maybe.
Or am I willing to really work with nature because sometimes our problems take time, right? We've got to shift, and there's a process to it. And it's not just a quick fix. So yeah. What were you thinking? I like that. Ooh.
Well, I was just thinking about so many of the empty promise kind of marketing things are kind of like pesticides.
Yes.
They might work in the short term, but they're bad for your environment,
Yes, and the long-term effects of that.
Yeah, because it kind of corrodes your values and your purpose and stuff like that.
Exactly.
You might get some short-term wins out of it, but the damage is long-lasting.
Exactly.
I think that, you know, having that, you know, like you say, working with nature and organically, and
yeah, and it's looking at how we're fitting into this whole system, because our tree is affecting the other trees and the levels of oxygen and everything in our whole environment. So it's
yeah.
I think that's the other piece of it too, is, you know, really paying attention to how is my tree fitting into the world, and is it good for the world, or is it doing more harm?
Well, you know what, because the like the soil is like the purpose stuff, right?
Yeah, that it's really kind of like the the manure, like the rich fertilizer in the soil.
Yeah. And it's kind of like when you're looking for fellow trees to hang out with, right? It's like,
Yeah,
who else is growing in the same soil,
exactly.
right? Who's in your orchard?
Yes,
And it's like, who's
exactly.
on a similar mission? Who's got similar values, similar type of tree, you know, kind of like you do some cross pollination there.
Yes, so true. Oh, here's a question. Regarding when to let the tree die and grow a new one, or save the tree. This can be very hard to discern. Please talk about this. It can be, and I think this is why it's really, really important to have, like, be really clear about your purpose. You know, I think that's why it's so important, and your values, and be able to notice where am I living that and where am I not? Because often I think when you have a tree that needs to die, it's probably because you're not actually being authentically you. Those branches are probably branches that you thought someone else told you should have. You probably got fruit that you care really nothing about. And then what's happening is your value, like Patty mentioned earlier, your values are starting to be eroded. The soil, your purpose, you are not in alignment with that at all. And I think that's when, if you've been in the wrong orchard, or the orchard that doesn't support you, it's probably when you need to cut that tree and actually take yourself over into grow a tree in the right orchard, doing the things that are more in alignment with who you are. I think is kind of how I would see that, because it's so easy to get to do the things that we think we should be doing because someone else said something, or we're feeling a little bit afraid to be who we are. And I think that's really where the strength of your purpose and your values come in, because it really, really does put in those strong roots where you're not as easily swayed into being in the wrong orchard, planted in the wrong spot. And you have to reflect.
Yeah, well, it's like, when do you have to chop the whole tree down? When it's in the wrong orchard.
Yeah.
It's not on purpose, because it's never going to be on purpose. You're not going to change it, yes. Right? Like, if it's on purpose, or if it's going against your values. It's really hard to sustain energy towards growing a business that contravenes your values.
Exactly.
And I think that those are the chop it down moments. And I think if you're on purpose, you know, you're on purpose, on mission, and you're working in alignment with your values, then I think the other things, they're just, let's try this branch, like you can branch off from there until you find something that fruits. Like, I think that you got a chance there. But if you're, you know, if you're trying to execute somebody else's plan and somebody else's mission, where you're contravening your values every day and trying to hold your nose to do the kind of stuff that you're doing, if you don't like your clients, if you don't like the work that you're doing, you know, if there's nothing salvageable about it, then yeah, way better to start over. And this is this thing about sunk costs. It's like, sunk costs is kind of like you're trying to plant a new tree in a new orchard, but you're still attached to the old tree in the old orchard. And it's like you're trying to carry it with you. And if you can just imagine yourself chained to a tree, that's not where you are, not where you want to go. But you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this new thing, but I can't let go of any of this stuff because I've already invested time, effort, and money there. It's like, sometimes you just have to make that cut and you have to go, okay.
Exactly.
This is a do-over. That was a great learning experience. Look at what I learned. I learned not that soil, not that root, not that kind of tree. Like I have all this brilliant information that I can carry forward, and I've got way more wisdom to plant my tree in this new orchard.
Yes. So true. Let's see here. Yes, that describes what I finally did after 2 years of knowing the mentor I had wasn't right for me. And it still took me over a year to make the shift. You two helped me let the tree die by asking me all the time, what do you want? Finally, I started to have my own answer. Yeah. And that's not the easiest question to answer. Like it takes a while to actually figure that out, especially if you've been in the wrong orchard for a long time. It's like, I'm not even sure. My whole life I've kind of been following other things, so I'm actually not even sure what I want. And sometimes that's a scary place because we want the certainty of knowing and we might not know. So we might have to try some different things to see, maybe I'm going to plant my tree in this orchard and I think this is the right one, but catch it soon enough where we can dig it up and move it to another one before it's super fully rooted in there. And then we got to cut it down.
I think that's part of it too. It's like, who are the trees around you, right? Like when you're in the wrong orchard, that's tough, right? It's like, wow, everybody else seems to see the world differently than I do.
Exactly.
I'm in the orchard of lying and manipulation is okay.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm like, that doesn't feel right to me.
That doesn't feel so good. Yeah, those sort of routes up the trunk that your values are trying to get through, and it's got to go through line and manipulation. It's like, oh, there's so much resistance there. I can't do it.
I cannot grow my tree. I cannot.
Come on. Exactly. It's just like, I can't do it. And yet we keep trying. So important. So important.
Yeah.
And not always easy.
It's not always easy. And I think it's important to, like, it's a little bit like when they, like when you quit drinking, right? It's a really good idea to stop going to the pub. It's like the environment just isn't good. Like you have to have so much strength and willpower and, self-control or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like, you just need to uproot and find a new environment and find new people to hang around with. It's like that's just kind of one of those realities. Sometimes when you make that kind of change, you just like, okay, it's like you unsubscribe from the newsletters, you cut the ties with the former people. Like, you go in a program, you follow some guru, and all of the people are they're like those same trees, right? Like, you've discovered a whole orchard, which is wonderful about joining a program. It's like, oh, here's someone to follow, and here's a bunch of trees going on the same direction, right? But if you don't fit in, that's a problem. And it's like, that's the U-shaped problem, I think. It's like,
so true.
My tree doesn't belong here. Oh, crap.
Pick it up.
I have to find new people. I have to find new information. I have to cut off all the stuff I've been doing. It's a serious upheaval.
Exactly. And it's like you talk about that mouthful. I think often it can be so scary to think, well, what if I don't find my other trees? What if it's just I'm a lone tree up on the hill all by myself? And that's not true, because often that's all we think we can see. But it's like the mouse hole thing you talk about, right? And then once you come through the mouse hole, it's all open up again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's just it. And you realize, holy crap, there's some trees that are kind of like me.
Exactly.
Like, it's like, oh, neat. We're all on the same mission. Oh, cool. They have similar values. Oh, wow. New information. There's a different way to do it. I don't have to do the genetically modified pesticides poison stuff. I can do this lovely organic cross-pollination thing.
Exactly.
Look at the little butterflies. It's like, wow, it's way better over here.
Look at how much life is here. I love it. It's so good. Yeah, I think It's so important. And I think this is the space too, where often, like, I think it's why I harp so much about knowing your values and making them actionable, because then you actually really know. And then you can also see by other people's behaviors and actions, are they really lined up, and your own, you know, it's not just a feel good, fluffy exercise to do. It's really, really important for that foundational piece that's only going to make everything else easier. Yeah. Like your decision making, like so much becomes so much easier when you're really grounded in your purpose and your values. Yeah. It's yeah, life-changing.
Yes, it's life-changing. So we've got just a couple minutes left. I just want to, if you're here with us live or watching this in the very near future, we are doing reflection, like this reflection questions that you can go through to help you gain some of these insights and mine some of the wisdom. It's super helpful. It's like I'm even finding for myself, going through my own reflection, that I'm noticing things. You know, I'm taking the time to really notice. It's like, it's really about figuring out, like, you know, your U-shaped machine. It's like, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. We don't necessarily, like, we have this tendency to keep falling into the same patterns, and if we want things to be different, you need to change something. And it really helps to look and see, okay, what works? You know, and in particular, this reflection is about what works. What did you accomplish? What was, you know, what made that possible for you? And it gives you some really good clues for putting together what you're going to do next year, because it's an opportunity to go, yes, more of what works, less of what doesn't, more of what energizes, less of what doesn't. Oh, this is what works for my schedule. This is the schedule I'm going to set up. Oh, this is where I've really got a lot of energy. This is where I'm going to go. These are the people I really like. I'm going to go, you know, meet more people like that. And it's just like, it gives you that information. So we have the reflection questions. We have that going on in the Facebook group right now. Lots of interaction, lots of people sharing what's going on for them. It's not too late to join, not too late to catch up. And then next week, we're doing a week-long planning course, which will help you take those reflections and create a U-shaped vision and plan for what you're going to do next year.
Oh, and there's prizes.
Pardon me?
There's prizes too in the Facebook.
Oh yeah, there's prizes in the Facebook. Like, there's like crazy awesome prizes that we're going to be announcing, I think, on Saturday. All you have to do is play. It's valuable to play. You'll get some great insights for yourself. You get cheering and likes and hearts for sharing what you've accomplished this year, because we don't celebrate enough. And if you participate, you'll win a prize.
Right. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. That's right. That's so awesome. All right. Here's to show 90.
Here's to show 90.
You know, speaking of plans and visioning, when we started this, it certainly wasn't a plan or a vision that we would be at show 90. It started out, we'll do 5.
Exactly.
That was the plan and the vision. We'll do 5. And we'll do 5 more. And here we are, show 90.
And we will be back next week with show 91, where we will be talking, you know, we'll be sharing what we have learned, like it's a year-long reflection. We'll be sharing some of the stuff that we've learned, lots of little tidbits of amazingness. Then we're taking 2 weeks off for the holidays, and back in January.
That's right.
With a surprise.
Yep. Woo!
Woo!
All right. See you next week.
Same bad time.
Same bad channel.
Bye for now.
Bye.